Yeah, good evening, everybody. We will be starting in a few seconds. I'm just waiting for everybody to join. So simply click on the link below this, this video. Before we start, maybe you could comment in the chat if you can hear me. If you're watching this webinar on YouTube, you should be able to chat right next to it. And if you're seeing it on our website, there's a chat below this video. You can simply sign up with Twitter or Facebook, or you just write your first name. And from there, you should be able to, if you're seeing it on our website, from there you should be able to chat. So maybe you can just put a small comment into the chat so that I know if you can hear me or not, and then we can actually start in a second when everybody has joined. I will just be saying a few words in Norwegian because this webinar is basically in English, but maybe there is someone here who cannot understand that much English. So for those of you, I'll just be saying a few words in Norwegian. Dette webinaret kommer til å være på engelsk. Vanligvis webinarene holder om Bergenstesten og norskprøven på norsk. Men I dag dette mest beregnet for folk som skal ta en språkprøve litt senere, men som likevel ønsker litt informasjon, så du selvfølgelig velkommen til å følge med på engelsk. Og hvis du sliter med å forstå, så kan jeg garantere at det kommer til å være webinar på norsk også ganske snart. Bare følg med på nyhetsbrevet eller på Facebook-siden Learning Norwegian. Okay, so let me see. I don't have a feedback on the chat yet, so maybe you can just send me a small update, short update. If you can hear me or not, that would be cool, because then, yeah, then I know that everything is working. It should actually be working, but yeah, you never know. Just 2-3 words about myself. My name is Vanas Kalla. Most of you might know me from somewhere, but for those of you who don't know me, I'm a co-founder of the internet language school Skapago. We provide one-on-one lessons on Skype, and we also publish textbooks. We've published 2 textbooks for Norwegian, and now we're just working on German textbooks and Swedish and Chinese textbook. We also provide online courses, like pre-recorded online courses. And we have quite a few students who want to take a Norwegian language exam. So today I'm presenting this webinar for those of you who might need a language exam and don't know yet which one to take. So I'm going to show you which exams there are, which one to pick and which situation, what the exams look like, and how to prepare. Okay, so now since you've seen me on the screen, I'm going to share my presentation here, so you know what I look like. That's not that interesting, isn't it? So I'm going to talk about why you need an exam. Nobody really likes exams, me included. So why would you bother and take one? Well, there are 4 reasons. Either you need one for a residence permit or citizenship. So if you want to live in Norway for a longer time, or maybe even become a Norwegian citizen, you need to prove that your Norwegian is quite good, and therefore you need an exam. Second reason, you want to study in Norway. If you want to study in English, then that's not a problem. But if your study program is given in Norwegian, then it's an entry requirement that you can prove that your Norwegian is sufficient to follow the tuition in Norwegian, okay? So you will also need an exam. If you want to work in Norway, most cases you don't really need an exam, with a few exceptions. For example, if you want to work as a doctor, if you want to work as a nurse or as a teacher, you will need an exam. But mostly you don't really need one. Still, of course, if you are going to work in a Norwegian-speaking environment, then it's heavily recommended that you have passed an exam. Otherwise, it might be difficult to get job in Norway if you cannot prove that your Norwegian is quite good. So the different exams that exist are on different levels. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with these A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2 levels that the European Union has introduced a few years ago. I have summed up what they actually mean. Like A1, this is really a beginner. You cannot really do a lot of things. If you're on A1 level, you can, well, I wrote order a cup of coffee, you can introduce yourself, you can maybe say the colors and count till 100, but not much more than that. A2 is a bit more complicated, and you can actually have some simple conversations that are very predictable. For example, you can schedule a meeting, you can tell people what you did yesterday, you can say things like that, but it's still quite clumsy, and your conversation might just stop completely at some points because you don't have the vocabulary, you don't have the means to express yourself. B1 means that you can have like real conversations. That means you can actually talk to people and they will understand you. Still at B1 level, native speakers will have to speak slowly and to repeat things several times. But the problem that happens at A2, that the conversation stops completely, that should not happen at B1 any longer. So it might be clumsy, it might be difficult for you to talk, but you will get around somehow in basically all situations. B2 is what is mostly considered as fluent. That means that you can speak and engage in conversations without a lot of effort. So you can join a discussion with native speakers. Maybe you will have a few problems looking for words. You will have grammar mistakes, things like that. But basically, you can talk without without bigger obstacles. C1 means you're almost like a native speakers, like a native speaker. Native speakers don't have to accustom their language so that they can talk to you. You can just join in conversations, basically like a native speaker. And C2 is the highest level you can get, where you're actually like a native speaker, and people might even think you're a native speaker, although you're not. Okay, so the different exams that we have in Norwegian are on different levels, as you can see. We have the NORSKPRØVEN, and NORSKPRØVEN is really between levels today. So you see there is this NORSKPRØVEN A1, A2, and that means that if you take this exam, the blue one here, then when your results are not that good, you get the result A1, and when it's good, you get the result A2. If you take the purple one, NORSKPRØVEN A2, B1, if you're not that good, then they will say you're on level A2, and if you're good, they will say you're on level B1. Same for NORSKPRØVEN B1, B2. If you have good results, they will confirm that you're on level B2. Okay, BERGENSTESTEN is a more difficult exam. BERGENSTESTEN exists only on one level. So in contrast to NORSKPRØVEN, which has 3 different levels, and you can choose which one you want to take, BERGENSTESTEN has only one level. But they say if you pass, then you're B2. And if you pass with very good results, they will say you're C1. Okay. There was another exam that was called NORSKPRØVE 2 and NORSKPRØVE 3, but these 2 exams don't exist any longer. Okay, so you cannot take these exams any longer. Still, if you have them, if you have taken them, they're still valid for the purposes you can use them. I'm going to talk about that, but you cannot take them again. Okay, so today it's like these 3 levels of NORSKPRØVEN and BERGENSTESTEN. And you have Trinn 3 examen. Trinn 3 is a little bit like BERGENSTESTEN. It's about the same level. You need to have level B2 in order to pass, otherwise it's too difficult. And if you have really good results, then it actually shows that you have a C1 level, although they don't print it on the certificate. Trinn 3 is a little bit of a special exam, but I'll talk about that later. Okay, so the first purpose where you might need a exam is if you want to have a residence permit or a citizenship. You have actually the option of taking 600 hours of public Norwegian tuition. And by public Norwegian tuition, we mean Norwegian tuition given by the municipality, which is, if I can be frank, usually not very good and will not lead you to a very high level. But you might, depending on the country where you come from and the circumstances under which you came to Norway, you might be forced actually to take this Norwegian tuition. So in this case, you just have to go there, of course. But if you want to apply for residence permit or citizenship, and what you can always do is to prove that you have adequate knowledge. And that means you take an exam and you pass it with at least result A2. Okay, so you can take the NORSKPRØVEN, I go back here, and either take the blue one or the purple one, and be good with the purple one, or no, be good with the blue one and a little bit bad with the purple one, and you will have sufficient knowledge to prove that you can have a Norwegian citizenship or permanent residence. Of course, if you take it at a higher level, this will count too. Yeah, so if you have taken BERGENSTESTEN and you want to apply for citizenship, it's no problem. If you have taken trinn 3 examen, want to apply for citizenship, no problem. If you have passed NORSKPRØVEN with a result B1 or B2, no problem. Okay, but if you only have A1, then this is not sufficient. Okay. Second purpose, you want to study in Norway. Now here it's much more demanding. You need to have a much higher level of Norwegian. You need to have passed NORSKPRØVEN with result B2, or you need to have passed the written Bergenstest or the trinn 3 examen. Okay, I will show you later that Bergenstest is made up of 2 exams, and you can choose which one you want to take, or both. There is a written exam and an oral exam. And in order to be admitted to studies, it's sufficient to have the written exam, but not for NORSKPRØVEN. There is no logic behind that at all. But if you want to study and you want to prove that your Norwegian is sufficient by taking NORSKPRØVEN, then you need to take both the written and the oral part. If you want to take Bergenstesten, it's sufficient with the written part. Don't ask me why that is the case. That's just the way it is. I have no idea, to be honest. Okay. If you want to work in Norway, usually, for most professions, you don't need any exam. If you want to work as a waiter, you will not need an exam. If you want to work as an engineer, you will probably not need any exam. But in a few professions, it might be different. For example, if you are a doctor, you will usually need to prove that you have level B2. And that means either Bergenstest or NORSKPRØVEN, the red one, with result B2. Okay? Trinn 3 examen will count as well. Or if you want to work as a teacher, or if you want to work as a nurse. The other thing is that even in jobs where it's not required, of course, if you want to make an impression on your future employer, if you want to prove to them that your Norwegian is good, then it's always good to have passed an exam. And there, of course, the more difficult, the better. The highest reputation, as far as I would say, is Bergenstesten. Bergenstesten both parts, that means the written part and the spoken part, the oral part. If possible, of course, with a good result, maybe with a C1 result. But this is definitely the better choice then. Trinn 3 examen is as difficult as, we're here. Trinn 3 examen is as difficult as Bergenstesten, but trinn 3 examen is not as well known as Bergenstesten. So most employers, at least in big companies, they know what Bergenstesten is. So if you can prove that you have passed it and you've passed it with good results, they will be impressed. With trinn 3 examen, they might not know what that is. And therefore the value might be a little bit less, or you might write something like this is the same as Bergenstesten or equivalent or something like that. It has another advantage, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. Okay, I'm just checking if there are already a few questions. No, as far as I can see. Let me see if there are questions in the The YouTube channel. Sound is fine. This is cool. Ingrid, yes, you can make questions during the presentation. I will check these regularly and try to answer them the best I can. So all of you are welcome to make a presentation, to ask questions. Just put them in the chat below this video or on the right of this video, depending on where you're watching this webinar, if it's on YouTube or on our own website. Okay, so here's a table that I have made to make your exam choice a little bit easier. If you are on level A1, so basically just starting out, it's not really necessary or advisable to take an exam. Why would you do that? You won't get in at university, you won't get a residence permit, you won't impress an employer if you can prove that you can say what your name is and that you can order a cup of coffee in Norwegian, right? Nobody will be impressed. So it starts getting interesting at level A2 or B1. If it's just for getting a job, you might consider taking NORSKPRØVEN A2, B1. Again, if you have passed NORSKPRØVEN A2, to be honest, I wouldn't be super impressed. I mean, it's cool if you have done that after a while of learning Norwegian, but if you want to get a job where you need to communicate in Norwegian, I cannot put you on customer service with level A2. I cannot have you answer customer emails or something on level A2 or picking up the phone. That doesn't work yet. So yeah, for a few jobs, it might be cool if you can prove it that you're at level A2. If you're at level B1, it's quite okay. But if you really want to do that so that you have a competitive edge on the job market, you should aim for something higher. Okay, my suggestion is, as I've said before, BERGENSTESTEN, possibly NORSKPRØVEN with a B2 result will be the same. I also have to add that the NORSKPRØVEN on the B2 level is quite new. I think it was introduced 1 year ago or 2 years ago. So many employers don't know yet that this even exists, and they might still prefer BERGENSTESTEN. Also, BERGENSTESTEN is a little bit more difficult for a different reason. I'm going to show that soon when we're going to talk about the details of the exam. Okay, yeah, before we go to NORSKPRØVEN, are there any questions right now about the choice of exams? No, not yet. I'll just move on, and of course you can always ask questions, as I said. So just use the live chat to the right on YouTube or below this video on our own website. Okay, so NORSKPRØVEN. You can take it twice a year, usually in May and November. And don't forget that the registration is 2 months earlier. So this is really important. We have people calling us in April and saying, I want to take NORSKPRØVEN in May. I'm ready for it. And no, you won't. It's too late. Okay. Please sign up as early as possible, because you can actually take NORSKPRØVEN in many places, in most places in Norway, at least at one place in every district, in every fylke. But the test spots might fill up pretty quickly. So if you want to take it in your town or your place, it might be full very fast. So check the dates for the opening of the registration, and then register as quickly as possible. Okay. The price depends on the kommune, which is a bit strange. So you really have to ask your kommune. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a municipality in Norway. Every kommune can decide themselves which price they want to have for the NORSKPRØVEN. Okay. You can choose if you only want to take the written exam or the oral exam, or both. And they're usually on different days, and might even be on different places, but they will send you a letter and let you know where you have to be and at what time. And I mean, of course, come early enough, and yeah, I think that's obvious. But again, you can decide only to take parts of it. Good question if this is a good idea. I mean, if you have a lot of time and you just want to challenge yourself maybe and just get some exam track record or exam experience, then you might just take the written part or just the oral part. But basically, I would suggest you can take both at one time if you don't feel overwhelmed. Okay, let's look at the written task first. There are 3 parts, and you're going to solve them in front of a computer. So that's different from BERGENSTESTEN. BERGENSTESTEN is written on paper, you know, old-fashioned paper, dead trees that we used in our childhood. Still the same. NORSKPRØVEN is written on a computer. You will sit in front of a computer, and you will have tasks in listening comprehension, in reading, and in writing. The times here are approximate. They are a little bit longer for the higher levels, and a little bit shorter for the lower levels, obviously. Okay, I'll show you a few examples of tasks you might get. I'll start with reading, and then I'll get to listening comprehension. So this is a reading task, for example. Les teksten og klikk I riktig rute. Okay, so you're supposed to read this little text here. It's very short, right? Ado skal flytte, og hun vil si fra på posten. And now you should like somehow translate what Ado wants to do. Sende pakke I Norge? No. Ny adresse? That sounds cool. Kjøpe billetter? No. Sende pakke til utlandet? Oppbevare post? And so on. So you need to understand this sentence here, and then you need to click on, well, basically you have to click for this task here, you have to click on ny adresse, because that's what Ado wants to do, to tell the post office that there will be a new address. Okay, for example, or they will make you read something and click on the image that suits the description. So here, for example, det blir mye vind med overskyet vær I Sør-Norge denne uken. Det kaldt I luften, men det blir ikke snø. Okay. What do you do if you don't understand everything? Of course, you always click on one image. If you don't understand anything, you have a 25% chance of getting it right. Even here, chance is a little bit lower. It's just, yeah, something like 10%, a little bit above 10%, but we always click on something, okay? And you click on neste to go to the next exam. So, for example, you understood ikke snø, everything else you didn't understand, but ikke snø, then you know that this image here with the tree and snow must be wrong, so it can be either the first or the second or the last, but not the third. So you have a 33% chance, okay? So you're always trying to click on something. Okay, so that's just basic ideas. On a higher level, you can get something like that. You can get a task like that, where you get a longer text and you need to put in a word that is suitable. So if you read through this sentence here, en vanlig årsak det såkalte noroviruset, som ved at man først kommer I kontakt med viruset på en overflate og senere berører munnen. Well, you need to know what these words here mean, and you need to click on the appropriate one. So oppstår, ødelegger, formerer seg, they don't make any sense. You have to pick smittet, for example. Okay. Listening comprehension. Listening comprehension has 5 different possible tasks you can get. Klikk I bildet, velg bildet, flervalg, and on the higher levels, not on the A1, A2 level, you can also get klikk og dra and klikk og velg. So klikk I bildet means that you have to click into a picture. You're going to hear someone say, for example, click on the girl with the red shirt who is playing with her dog. Okay, you're going to see a picture with a lot of people, and you're going to see this girl with a red shirt and her dog, and you're going to click on her. You're going to hear that twice, so if you don't understand it for the first time, you can still listen to it once more. Okay, velg bildet means you have to choose. So this is something similar to this task here with the trees and the weather. It's just that you're not going to read this text, you're going to hear it. Someone is going to read it up for you. Okay, flervalg, that's multiple choice. That's basically where they tell you something. For example, 2 guys are discussing at what time they want to meet, and then you have to pick at what time they actually want to meet, whether it's 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and you just pick the right one. Okay. Klikk og dra and klikk og velg mean that you have, for example, klikk og dra is something like that. You have these yellow buttons here, and you need to put them into the right order. So you're going to hear text about someone who is describing her daily routine, and she says what she has to do first, and then she's going to do that, and before this she still has to do this, and so on. And so you have to put these items into the right order, for example. Okay, so that's like reading, listening comprehension, and then you have to write something on your own. And you usually get 3 or 2 different tasks, and it depends on the level, what it actually is. So A1, A2 is pretty simple, of course. Skrive en melding, that means like you should just send an SMS or send a short email or something. Beskrive et bilde, describe a picture with 50 to 80 words. Okay, so you might see a picture of, again, for example, a street, and there is a bakery, and the child is coming out of the bakery, and there is a dog next to it, and all that, and you just write what you see. Okay, fortelle om et kjent tema, that means you have to write about a very general topic. So, for example, it can be something like what you like to do for vacation, or something like this, or write about a hobby, or write what it's like to live in Norway, something like this. Okay, and you should write around 80 words or more. Okay, A2, B1, things are getting a bit more difficult. You have this describe a picture, but they require you to describe it with a little bit more detail, and of course more sophisticated language. Fortell om et kjent tema, that's the same as here, but here they say 80 to 200 words, so it's a longer text. And in contrast to A1, A2, they have uttrykke egne meninger, which means you should say your own opinion on something. So you will be asked if, I don't know, Norway should have more motorways or whatever, okay? And you're required to write a few sentences about what you think and why. And on the highest level, you have, this is actually the most difficult task, will be the easier part here, uttrykke egne meninger. Then you have like an argumentative text that is quite long, 250 to 350 words. And you have 2 different topics to choose from. So obviously you will choose the one you know more about, or you think it's easier to write about. But this is like a longer text where you really have to discuss different opinions, different views on the same issue, and come with good arguments and examples and so on. Okay, so that was the written norskprøve. Are there any questions about the written norskprøve up to now? Not on YouTube. Yes, there are. Currently on, Elizabeth wants to know, currently I'm doing a course at videregående, but would like to go to høyskole after. The course I'm doing is in Norwegian. Which level would you recommend if I need to prove my level in Norwegian? Elizabeth, you should definitely ask the høyskole where you want to study. The general rule is that they will require level B2. Okay, so this means either norskprøven on level B2 or BERGENSTESTEN passed. Okay, this is yes. So if you're, however, if you're at a videregående skole, which is something like high school in America, and you will take the exam, avsluttende eksamen på videregående, in Norwegian. Like you have a subject that is Norwegian, not Norwegian as a foreign language, but like real Norwegian, then this might also count. This is a very special case. We don't have a lot of students who actually do that. But again, Elizabeth, I kindly recommend that you ask the høyskole where you would like to study. Okay, then we have someone here with an Arabic name that I cannot read, unfortunately. Jeg anbefaler dere å ta bergenstesten, det er bedre enn voksprøve. So he recommends to take BERGENSTESTEN instead of VOX-prøve because there is no justice on VOX-prøve. Well, I cannot say something about that. Basically, of course, the problem with all these exams is that they are corrected by someone who has a subjective view on that. So obviously, no one can guarantee you that you will have a good result, unfortunately. My personal opinion is also like BERGENSTESTEN, but not because you will get bad results in NORSKPRØVEN, but simply because the reputation is higher. So if you're good enough to take BERGENSTESTEN, I personally would take BERGENSTESTEN. Okay, Omar, I'm new. Could you tell me how to be a master in Norwegian? I will share a few resources for how to learn Norwegian. Raminta, what is really important for writing B2 level? That you would get highest level. I'm not quite sure what exactly you mean. Probably you mean like what language requirements are there so that you can pass or can get a B2 exam, B2 result. Basically, it means that you have to have a really high level of Norwegian. You need to get the grammar right. You need to have all these like let-setninger, hel-setninger, conjugations of verbs, sentence order, everything needs to be right. And you need to be able to express yourself in quite good advanced Norwegian. I mean, you can have a few mistakes. You can have like things like, for example, mixing up the article. Yeah, that you write, for example, I don't know, et buss instead of en buss or something like that. If you do that, like once in a while, you will still pass. But if your grammar is really bad, you won't. Also, your text must be easy to understand. That means you must have, you must know expressions like, for example, although this is that, I still think that blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you cannot just have very short sentences that go through the whole text. It's very difficult to give a detailed view on what exactly is required, but I will tell you a few resources later where you can see examples. Okay. How many mistakes are allowed? There is no rule about that. There is no rule. That's a bit of a problem with these written tasks. When the examiner says it's bad, then it's bad. And when he says it's good, then it's good. So it's very subjective. You have the right to protest against the examiner's decision, which means that the exam will be corrected once more by someone else, but his or her opinion is then definite. Okay. So there's no general rule, unfortunately. That makes it a little bit tricky, I know, but with a little bit of experience, you will know what the when a text is good and when it's not good enough yet. Okay. Any more questions about the written NORSKPRØVEN? No? Then I think I will say a few words about the oral exam, which has 2-3 parts and is a little bit, actually faster. It just takes 20-30 minutes, not more. There are 2 different types of tasks you will get. One is called samtale. That means that you have to talk with someone else, with another candidate, with another student, which I find very weird because this other student, of course, might be much better than you in Norwegian. So if he asks you something you might not understand, or might be much worse, so you're going to ask a question and they don't understand, and so that's a little bit strange. And there is also an individual exam. Individual one is, of course, easier, I would say, because you're basically asked a question and you have to answer it and say a few words about it. The nature and the content of the exam is a little bit like the written exam, so it's very open. They want you to talk for a few minutes and see if they can judge what you know and what you don't. So at the lowest level, of course, they might just show you a few pictures, and you will say what you see on the pictures in the individual task, or you might get something like, can you tell about a city you would like to visit, or something like this. You will get very easy things to talk about with your other candidate. For example, the classic example here is what you will eat for lunch. At a higher level, of course, this is going to be a bit more complicated. For example, you should discuss with the other candidate if you want to live in a city or on the countryside. Okay, and it can go for 5 to 7 minutes. And on the B2 level, B1, B2 level, it's about the same time, 5 to 7 minutes. But again, the topics can be more complicated and can be something like, could you talk about what is important for being happy with your job or something like that, okay? So you should have an opinion, and you should discuss your opinion with this other candidate. And of course, both have to say something. So you cannot do all the talking and never let the other person talk. You also need to show that you're able to stop yourself and ask a question, like, for example, what do you think about that? Or do you agree with me, or stuff like that? Okay. And in the individual tasks at the higher level, you also get something where they want to see that you can discuss something. So, for example, they will give you an idea or a claim. They will say, for example, it's best for old people to live at home. And or, for example, here I had alcohol is too expensive in Norway. What do you think of that? Okay, and then you have to say, well, I think it's like this, but because of that, I disagree, and blah blah blah. So you have to say your own opinion. Okay. Elizabeth wants to know, for the samtale, does one have to be specific if the other candidate might use only bokmål? I have students in my class who actually speaks in nynorsk. Well, nobody in Norway really speaks bokmål or speaks nynorsk. That's a misconception a lot of people have. Nynorsk and bokmål are two different written variations of Norwegian, and people speak in their dialect. So, for example, when you live in Bergen, people will speak in Bergen dialect, which is very different from Oslo dialect, but still quite close to bokmål. Same in Oslo. If you live on big day, people will speak very close to bokmål, but the pronunciation is completely different, or is much different. Completely different is exaggerated. I don't want to frighten you. What the other candidate speaks does not play the slightest role. I do have to say that this is one of the problems I have, like with this exam. If this other person has a horrible accent and you don't understand him or her, then of course you get nervous because you don't know why you don't understand him, if this is because of the dialect or because of foreign accent. Or if I were to design the NORSKPRØVE, I would drop this because I think it's completely useless. But unfortunately, it's part of the oral exam. However, the examinators will take into account that for example, this other person just has such a horrible accent that you cannot understand him or her. And this applies also to a situation where he or she might have a very distinct Norwegian accent. Okay, but the version you use yourself. So if you speak a dialect, that's fine. If you use a lot of words that are in nynorsk, that are very common in nynorsk, that's completely fine. In the oral exam. In the written exam, of course, you have to choose. You usually write in bokmål, but you can take the exam in nynorsk if you know how to write nynorsk. I wouldn't do it, but if you have learned nynorsk, you can take the written exam in nynorsk. Okay. Does everybody here know what the difference between bokmål and nynorsk is? I think I cannot talk about that for a long time. This is a tricky topic, but yes. Evgenia answers, what if another student will speak all the time and I will not be able to say a word? That is also why I hate this this exam, to be honest, or this part of the exam. All you can do is actually to hope for the examinator that he or she will start in and give you an option to speak. You might try to interrupt the other person, like in a polite way. For example, when she's taking breath, you might say something like, I agree, but, and then you just continue talking. But it's a bit tricky. However, there are still the individual tasks. So, the examinator will take that into account, that you didn't get the opportunity to speak. Okay, Ingrid wants to know, can I take the oral exam by Skype or should it be person to person? Definitely not by Skype. You have to take it person. Okay, you have to come to this place, to your municipality, and take the exam. Also, like the exam, maybe if this is a misunderstanding, the exam, the written part is computer-based, but that does not mean that you can take it from your home. You have to come to Norway, or if you live in Norway, you have to come to the place where your municipality tells you to come, and you have to take the exam there. You cannot take it at home. Okay. I will say a few words about how you can prepare to these exams, and then I will talk about Trinn 3 examen and Bergenstesten. So there is one thing that is important to know. Two things you have to take into account. This is Nils. Many of you might know him. He's the main character in our Norwegian textbooks, and Nils is standing on 2 feet to pass his Norwegian exam. 1 foot is the language. You need to be good at Norwegian, okay? You need to have your vocabulary, you need to have your grammar right, you need to understand spoken Norwegian, and you need to be able to write correctly, okay? But the 2nd foot Nils is standing on is something like exam strategy. There's a typo here, experience, like this. It means you should have seen an exam before, okay? There are example tests, because if you just show up and you say, oh, my Norwegian is good, and you don't know what you have to do, for example, during the listening comprehension, where you have to click and what you have to write, and it's going to frighten you. You might not understand everything. You might lose a lot of points, a lot of credits, and you might just fail because you have not prepared for solving an exam, okay? We have actually Norwegian native speakers who did high school in another country than Norway, and then they want to study in Norway. They need to prove they speak Norwegian, and of course they speak Norwegian perfectly well, but they still fail in Bergenstesten or in NORSKPRØVEN on level B2, just because they don't know how to approach the exams. Okay, so you need to work on that as well. You need a few strategies to solve questions. Like, for example, in the listening comprehension, small details I told you, you won't understand everything. Maybe you can rule out something. Yeah, you understood here, ikke snø, so you can rule out this 3rd option here. It will certainly not be this one. Okay, so you get a better chance of passing the exam. And also, in the exams, they're going to play tricks on you. For example, in listening comprehension, I recently heard a task where they asked you, at what time does the train for Oslo leave? And then you heard the train from Oslo will arrive at 4 p.m. on platform 3, and the train to Oslo will depart from platform 2 at 5 o'clock. And you're like, if you don't listen carefully, you're really confused, and you might get it right, because obviously the 4 choices you had were 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, so it's very easy to get that wrong. So they will play tricks like that with you in the exam, and you should have some experience with solving exams so that you know how to how to pass them if your language is good. There is one thing that is missing here, and this is very important. You don't need to know like factual knowledge. Like, for example, people ask me, what do I have to know about Norwegian politics? What do I have to know about Norwegian history? What do I have to know about economics in Norway? You don't need to know anything about that. You just need to express your opinion. It's not a problem if you write information that is actually wrong. You won't get a problem with that. You get a problem if you write bad Norwegian. Okay, so we have a few resources. Many of you might know or even have our textbooks. The Mystery of Nils and Mysteriet om Nils are a coherent story, which makes it, I hope, a little bit more fun to learn Norwegian than with traditional Norwegian textbooks. And there is the first textbook here to the right, and the second book, the blue one. The first one is level A1, A2. So it's sufficient if you have worked through it to pass the NORSKPRØVEN on level A2. But if you want to pass BERGENSTESTEN or NORSKPRØVEN on a higher level, you will need to work with the blue one as well. Okay, we have made an online course based on the first book. It has the same story, but a lot of additional resources, like, for example, pronunciation videos, exercises for listening comprehension, for speaking Norwegian, which you can download to your mobile phone, and you can do them as often as you want. And I actually have a special offer for you if you want to test this today. I will talk about that a little bit later. We will do something similar for the second part, for Mysteriet om Nils. It will probably be available in May. Okay, right now we're still working on it. You can also, of course, attend a traditional Norwegian course somewhere where you might know that there is one, for example, in your city, in your town, at your university. You might consider one-on-one lessons with one of our teachers. We provide lessons through Skype, so you can take them anywhere in the world, and our teachers are very experienced with both NORSKPRØVEN and BERGENSTESTEN, and can actually help you to pass this exam. Of course, that's more expensive than working on your own with a textbook or with an online course, but that's, well, firstly, it's a fast track, and secondly, it's much more effective than taking group classes where you are together with 12 people who are all have a little bit different problems, and you never get to talk there and to actually have an interaction with your teacher. So if you're interested in that, you can take a free demo lesson with one of our teachers. I will share a link below this video once the webinar is over. Okay, what can you do about exam strategy? We have three free ebooks, one about NORSKPRØVEN and two about BERGENSTESTEN, that you can download, and that will help you, I hope, a lot. We've put in some of our experience with the exams and what you should look for when you're solving example exams, and then the real thing once it's the day to take your exam. And you can download them for free. You can also purchase sample tests, not through us, but through the institutions that provide the exam. I will share a link also below this video. Okay, and we will provide an online course for NORSKPRØVEN, which you can do on your own, which is specifically designed to help you with exam strategy. Unfortunately, it's not available yet. We're a little bit lagging behind that, but it will be available in April. So just keep following us on Facebook or keep following us through the newsletter, and you will get the information once it's launched. If you don't know how to do that, if you don't know where to find us, you can always send us an email. This is our email address, info@skapago.eu. Okay, so if there are no more questions about NORSKPRØVEN, I will continue with Trinn 3 examen. I will do this very quickly, but yes, there are a few questions. Mohammed would like to know, finns noen bøker, are there books that I can use for, ja, Mohammed, du kan bruke Mysteriet på Nils, som jeg nettopp har snakket om. You can use Mysteriet on Nils, this book here, which we published. It also has specific tasks for either Bergenstesten or NORSKPRØVEN for the written exam, which you can try to solve on your own. Okay, and then there was another question by, no, let me see, what was it? David, can you use the written tests as a learning tool? Are they available online to someone in the US? I'm sorry if this is a repeat question. I can't tell if my question comments are getting through. If this is your first comment, then it's getting through, David. If it's your second comment, then unfortunately not, then please repeat your first comment. So yes, there are example tests, and I will share them below this video. Since you're not viewing this on YouTube, but on our website, you might scroll down and already find the information there. For those of you who are watching the webinar on YouTube, I will share it once I'm done with the webinar, and you can just click on it, on all the links to the resources. So yes, you can use the written tests as a learning tool, and you should. Not so much for improving your language, as I said, but for getting exam experience, for knowing what they will want to do and how they will want to trick you. Okay, Trinn 3 examen. Trinn 3 examen is pretty difficult. It's B2 level. If you pass with a good result, it's actually C1. You see here on the overview, Trinn 3 is here. It's also more difficult than Bergenstesten for one reason. In contrast to Bergenstesten, with Trinn 3 examen, you also have to know things about Norway, about Norwegian history, about Norwegian economy, Norwegian population, Norwegian legal system. You have to read literature and talk about literature and so on. So it's really more difficult, and it's not that well known as Bergenstesten, although it is so difficult and should have a very high reputation. So why would you take it? Simply because it is free for university students and no one else can take it. So if you are at a Norwegian university right now, either as an exchange student or in an English program, you can take a course. And at the end of the course, you can take Trinn 3 examen. If you pass, then this means that you have exactly the same rights as with Bergenstesten. So you can enroll for a Norwegian program at university. You can prove to your employer that your Norwegian is really good, and you can ask for citizenship. Of course, there are other conditions for the citizenship besides the language, but like from the language point, this is sufficient. So so it also has a very high reputation inside academia, but unfortunately outside academia, it's not that well known. So again, I recommend it for university students, but don't forget that you also have to sign up for the course. Bergenstesten and NORSKPRØVEN can be taken without having taken a course before. Okay, maybe it's advisable to take one. I'm not saying that you have to take it at our school. You can take it wherever you want, but maybe you should take a course, but you're not requested. You can just register for the exam and show up. But for Trinn 3 examen, you will have to take a course at your university. Okay, so Trinn 3 examen also has a written part and an oral part. It's about the same as Bergenstesten, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. And yes, again, it's just more difficult because you also have to learn factual knowledge. And even if your Norwegian is super good and the examiner asks you, tell me about the Norwegian legal system, and you say, I have no idea, I'm sorry, then this is a fail. Okay, you will not pass the exam. Okay, any questions about Trinn 3 examen, or can we continue to Bergenstesten? No, no one wants to take Trinn 3 examen. I don't want to scare you. It's actually quite, well, if you have Bergenstest level, if you have B2 level, then you can pass Trinn 3 examen as well. Okay, Bergenstesten, king of exams, king of Norwegian language exams, because it's almost as difficult as Tenettere-examen, at least from the language perspective. It's just as difficult, and it has a very high reputation. So my suggestion is that if you have the level, take Bergenstesten, because it's just the coolest thing to have. Everybody, not everybody, but employers know it. You can study at university. You will get your residence permit. Everything is open to you if you have passed Bergenstesten. There are two different exams. There's a written one, which like this is skriftlig written, and muntlig, which is spoken oral part. They're completely independent of each other, but you can take them both too, of course, but you have to register for them independently. Okay, a few words about the written Bergenstest first. It's very long, 6 hours. You can take it 3 times per year, January, April, September. Right now it costs about 2,330 Norwegian kroner, but they change this price from time to time. If you take the oral Bergenstest, it's about 1 month later, so like February, May, October. Bergenstest, the written Bergenstest, not the spoken one, is the only Norwegian language exam which you can take outside of Norway. It's more expensive, and you need to organize the exam yourself. So for example, you need to find a Norwegian embassy or consulate or something like that where they will hold the exam for you, and you need to discuss how this is going to work. But you can, but it's possible. Like with NORSKPRØVEN, this does not work. If you want to take NORSKPRØVEN, you need to come to Norway. But Bergenstesten, if you live in Australia and you say that's too difficult to come to Norway, you can take it in Australia, given these conditions. Everybody can take it. As I said before, like with NORSKPRØVEN, it's not required that you have passed a certain course or something. Everybody can take it, and there is a link here which is a little bit outdated. I'll put the new one below this video, so that you have some answers to common questions. Okay, the Bergenstesten, the written one, is made up of 5 so-called delprøve. Delprøve is like partial exam or part of the exam. First one is reading comprehension, and there are 2 tasks. One is a multiple choice task, so it's about the same as we have seen with the NORSKPRØVEN. You have a text here, and there are words missing, and you need to fill in the one word that is suitable. Yeah, and then we have so-called short answers. So you will read a text, and then there are questions about the text. So for example, here, når har Martin bursdag? Then you have to check in this text what they say about when Martin is going to have his birthday, and you just write, in 2 weeks is going to be his birthday, and you just write om 2 uker. Okay, delprøve 2, the second part exam is listening comprehension, and this is a task where it's just multiple choice. So you're going to listen to some text, and then you have to select. For example, in 1960, did Norwegian women have more children, fewer children, or as many children as today? And so they're going to talk about this issue, and then you have to pick the right answer. It's a bit tricky because in NORSKPRØVEN usually you hear the discussion twice. In Bergenstesten you hear it only once. Okay, so if you don't get it right the first time, you just have to pick one of the 3 and hope for the best. The third part of the exam, which is called the referat, is something that does not exist in another exam. A referat means that you're going to listen to an interview, which might take some 6, 7, 8 minutes, something like that. And then you need to write a coherent text about what was said during the interview. And you will get a few, they call this momenter, that's like a few hints about what they are talking. So for example, here it's just a interview with Martin Krane, who is the owner of Kranes konditori in Tromsø. So this is just an exam I have made up because Kranes konditori is actually a famous novel written by a Norwegian author Koda Sandel, but yeah, that's just so this is just a play of words. But anyway, it could look something like that. And you see here they're talking about the history of this shop and about the people who work there and the guests and the competition and financial problems and advantages and disadvantages with this profession. And you can just yeah, you need to write something about all these items in order to get a good result. It doesn't have to be every single detail. Of course, that's impossible. You cannot write down everything that is being said during 6 minutes or 8 minutes. It doesn't have to be completely correct. So if you get something wrong, that's no problem. But if you get most of the stuff wrong, then you will not pass. Okay, the fourth part of Bergenstesten is called grammatikk, ord og uttrykk. So this is grammar and vocabulary, and this is a very strange exercise that also exists only in Bergenstesten. You will get a set of pairs of sentences. So you have two sentences, and in the second sentence, you have to fill in something so that the second sentence means about the same as the first sentence. So here, for example, Per sa jeg syk, and then the second sentence is Per sa at, and how do you continue this so that it means the same? And the solution here is that han var syk. So usually they want to test if you know certain grammar items. Okay, so in this case, they want to see if you can do this indirect speech, or if this is yeah, somehow too difficult for you. Okay, and they also want to see if you know how to put the verb forms, because this is past tense and this is present tense, but when you go to indirect speech, this has to be past tense and this has to be past tense too. So they want to check if you get that right or not. Okay, and then there are a few other ones where they want to test your vocabulary. Okay, Terje sier at han ble tatt på senga. So what does that mean, å bli tatt på senga? Okay, if you don't know, then you can try to guess. Never leave a blank open. It can just be wrong, but it can be right by accident. So you can take a guess if you want. But yeah, you need to fill in like a synonym or something that means at least roughly the same as the original sentence. Okay, and then part 5 is a little bit like in NORSKPRØVEN. You have to write a text, basically an essay. You will get a topic and you can choose. There are two. You choose, of course, the one which you think is easier to write about. So here, that's just an example about alcohol policy in Norway. And you always get a question, which is usually a yes/no question. So you could answer you could just write yes and return the file. Of course, this will not count then. You have to write about 350 words and you have to write it on paper. So that means you should know a little bit how much 350 words is with your handwriting. You will also get what they call kildestoff. This means it's some background information about the topic, which is very useful. Because you get, if you don't know anything about that, then they will write something, and you can use this information in your text. And you should write 1/3 of the text just introducing the topic. So you will say like basically what you can find here. Of course, if you have your own information, if you know something about the topic, you can write what you know about it, but you will not give your own opinion. Of course, you cannot copy this one-on-one. You have to say it with your own words. But then in the rest of the text, 2/3, you're going to write your own opinion. Yeah, you have to answer this question, and you have to say, yes, I agree because. And you can say reason number 1, example, reason number 2, example, or reason number 3, and you have a nice conclusion. And it should be a nice text, easy to read, with connecting words like although and instead of, but I still believe that, and things like that, and everything in Norwegian. Again, it's not the problem if you get some factual information wrong. For example, if you write that you need to be 19 years old to buy beer, and that's actually not right, it's 18 years, that's not a problem. Yeah, they want to see that you can write good Norwegian. That's everything. They don't test you on the on the content of your text. Of course, it needs to make sense. So when I read it, it must be logical. I must be able to follow your arguments, but it does not have to be completely correct. Okay, if you get a question, I don't know, about some political issue, some economic issue, and an economist will say you're wrong, that's just not correct, then that's no problem. It's not an exam about economy or politics or whatever, it's an exam about Norwegian. Okay, so that's the written Bergenstest. That's actually all there is to it. Muntlig Bergenstest, the oral Bergenstest, spoken Bergenstest, quite short actually. It's just like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, not longer than NORSKPRØVEN. So you have like the written Bergenstest, which is 6 hours, and the oral part is much faster. The first thing they're going to do is they will show you a number of pictures, and they will let you describe these pictures. Quite simply, you just say what you see, like, yeah, I see a baker making bread, and obviously he's sweating because he's just wearing a t-shirt or something like that. Second part, a bit more difficult, you have to give your opinion on a claim. So they will say something like, I believe everybody should own a car. And then you say, well, I disagree because, and you talk about that for a few minutes. Okay, and then there will be a discussion about the same topic. So the examiner will let you talk what you think about this car owning. And then after 2-3 minutes, he will just say, yeah, okay, but I believe it's this or that. Or he says, like, what is it like in your home country? And, you know, he's going to engage in a discussion. So it's basically the same as in NORSKPRØVEN, where you also have a discussion part. But here you're going to speak to the examiner, who is like a real Norwegian. So you don't need to freak out that this is going to be someone who has a very weird accent or something. It's going to be real Norwegian. It's not going to be someone with, I don't know, Spanish or German accent or something. Yes, you might get an additional task if they are not sure after these 3 tasks if you, yeah, what your real level is. So if they want some more material, that's not a bad sign, by the way, if it happens to you, that it's not over after the discussion, but that it will show you, I don't know, another image or a graph which they make you describe or something like that. Don't get nervous. It could mean that they are not sure if you've just passed or passed with good results. Okay, so just be happy if they ask you for a 4th task. Okay, I still have something about, well, how to prepare to Bergenstesten. I told you, of course, if you want to use our textbooks, the first one is not enough, definitely not. You will have to work through the second one, the blue one, Mysteriet om Nils. I'm going to share the link below this video. We will also make an online course which will have all the features like for the first book, so with pronunciation exercises and all this. Probably it will be available in May 2017. Unfortunately, it's not available right now. But yeah, if you work through the second part as in the book form, at least for the written part, that should be sufficient. Again, of course, we're here if you want to take one-on-one lessons with a teacher through Skype. I told you before, that's always an option. We have a lot of experience, and the teacher is going to assess you in a free demo lesson. That means that you're going to talk to the teacher in 45 minutes, maybe show some of your writing, and then the teacher will know what you have to work with and what you should focus on. And if you decide to take a course, then yeah, you're always free to start one, but you can also walk away after the demo lesson. If you're interested in taking one, send us an email at info@skarpago.eu and we can arrange the time. Okay. We also have something for exam strategy. We have free ebooks for both the written and the oral Bergenstest, and you should download them. I'll share the link below. Same for an online course. We have made an online course about exam strategy. This online course will actually walk you through all these 5 exam parts of the written Bergenstest and will show you how I solve exam tasks and what you should be careful with. So you're going to see a lot of material, what it looks like, what you should work with, how you should prepare, all that. The course is a one-time purchase, so if you purchase it, it's available as long as you want. So you can basically, if you want, you can buy it now and just keep it if you want to take Bergenstesten next year. Should the price go up or should we add new material, this will not be any problem for you because you will already have the course. And you should purchase sample tests. This is not possible through us. It's only possible through the institution that provides that does the Bergenstest, which is Folkeuniversitetet. We will also share a link below this video on how you can order these example tests. And I talked to you before, if you are on level A1 or not yet level A2, you might consider joining the Nils Academy. And if you sign up until Friday, we have a special offer for you. We will give you 1 month free membership. The Nils Academy costs 197 Norwegian kroner per month, but the first month will be free for you. Nils Academy is made up of the coherent story, which you know from our textbooks. You also have the audio files there. You have grammar explanations on video, pronunciation explained on video, and you have a lot of additional partially interactive exercises and also exercises you can download to your phone or to any other device where you can practice your listening comprehension, where you can practice your fluency, because we will, for example, make you say sentences in another word and in another way, and you can repeat these sentences then and check if you were right or not. If you sign up, it's for a technical reason. You will have to pay this first, but we will refund the price. Okay, we're not hosting this online course ourselves for the simple reason that we don't have the technical knowledge, and like dealing with credit card data, this is much too dangerous. So we're doing this through someone who knows how to do that professionally. So they will charge you for the first month, but we will automatically refund the price. It might take 2 weeks until you see it on your credit card statement. Okay, but that's so our promise that if you sign up until Friday Norwegian time, then we will refund the price. Okay, so that was actually our offers, and now it's time for your questions. I got a number of questions before the webinar, which I would like to answer now quickly, and then you can ask questions that that I can answer right now. Okay, number one, how can I improve my writing skills in Norwegian by myself? Obviously, by writing a lot. You should work with grammar exercises. You should work with a textbook. It can be our textbook, it can be another textbook. You can work with our online course, which I've just presented. Obviously, you should have someone who helps you correct your text. If you don't want to pay a teacher, find a Norwegian friend, find someone who can help you. Of course, we can do that as a language school, but if you say, no, I'm not ready to work together with a teacher, find a Norwegian friend. At best, it should be one who is good at writing Norwegian. Unfortunately, many Norwegians are not, which is very sad, but that's just the way it is. I'd like to take enkelt emner, so like some subjects at a Norwegian university in Tromsø. Is NORSKPRØVEN enough? Does it have to be Bergenstesten? Where can you take NORSKPRØVEN? Is Bergenstesten way more difficult? I think I talked about that a lot. It depends on which NORSKPRØVEN you take. So I'm going back to this overview here. You need NORSKPRØVEN B1, B2, so the red one, and pass with B2 or Bergenstesten. Okay, one of those two. Both will count. There's one strange thing. If you want to pass, or if you want to enter Norwegian university using NORSKPRØVEN, you will have to do both the written and the oral part, and you will have to pass both on level B2. If you only take if you want to take Bergenstesten, it's sufficient to have the written part. There's no logic behind that, but right now that's the rules for samordna opptak. However, I suggest that you also hear with your university, so in this case, University of Tromsø, go to the student office or write them an email and let them confirm what exactly they require. Because basically it's every university, every college can make up their own rules, and I might not have the most updated information here. Where can you take NORSKPRØVEN? I told you in every fylke in Norway. So you can definitely take in Tromsø. Maybe in the very remote parts in the north, it can be a bit difficult to find the closest test location. But there is one in every fylke and every Norwegian district, at least. And in most Norwegian fylkes, there are several. Is BERGENSTESTEN way more difficult? Well, I talked about that. I think it depends. And for NORSKPRØVEN B1, B2, it is not. It's about the same level. But it has this referat and it has this grammar exam. So my advice is that if you're a bit weak on spoken Norwegian, if you have an accent, if you don't feel comfortable, but you have a strong academic background and you know how to write written exams, then written BERGENSTESTEN might be better. If it's the other way around, if you're good at speaking Norwegian, but you're having trouble with writing, like longer texts or something like that, then you might consider NORSKPRØVEN on level B2. Next question, can I take the exam abroad? Yes, but only the written BERGENstest, no other exam. Am I prepared for the exams after finishing Mysteriet om Nils 2? So it's just Mysteriet om Nils, which is the second part, basically. Yes, you are, if you have worked through the book actively. If you know to apply all the grammar, if you know the vocabulary, then you have the knowledge that is necessary, at least for the writing. Of course, if you just read through it and not really apply what is in the book, then this is not sufficient. Is it advisable to listen to Norwegian radio stations in order to improve the listening? Yes, if you want to take an exam at level B2 or B1, maybe. Yeah, if you want to take this exam here, this one, NORSKPRØVEN A1, A2, it's much too difficult to listen to Norwegian radio. Okay, you'll only get nervous. But if you're considering taking this one, or BERGENstest Trinn 3, something like that, then this is definitely a very good way of preparing for the exam. Do they speak mostly dialects? I'm not sure if you mean that in the radio stations or in the exams. Both are correct, and both, yeah, so it's, of course, at a higher level, it's quite good if you know some basics about the Norwegian dialects. Because, yes, I also advise, by the way, if possible, take the exam somewhere close to where you live, if you already live in Norway. So for example, if you live in Stavanger, take the exam in Stavanger. Don't go to Trondheim to take the exam, because probability is quite high you have an examinator from Trondheim and you're not used to his accent, and that might be a bit complicated. But yes, so on the lower level, they're going to what they call moderate their Norwegian. That means they are trying to speak some, yeah, bokmål or nynorsk. Okay, are there any books for Danish people that show the differences between Danish and Norwegian and English, Scandinavian, or German? Unfortunately, I don't know any such books, so I advise that you just work with a normal Norwegian textbook. I do have teachers who have a lot of experience teaching Swedish or Danish students, but I'm not aware of a textbook existing specifically for people who have a background from Denmark or Sweden. How long do I have to wait if I did not pass the exam? How much percentage of the exam do I need to be passed? So how long do you have to wait? If you don't, you can just take the next one. So NORSKPRØVEN is twice a year. So if you fail to pass in May, you can take it in November. Same with BERGENSTESTEN. If you don't get it in April, you can take it in October. Okay. How much percentage? Well, you need to pass every single part. So it's not possible, for example, to have 100% in listening comprehension and reading comprehension, but nothing in writing or something like that. That doesn't work. So every single part has to be passed. For all the open parts, like, for example, the writing, the referat, you will be judged by the examinator. There is no real percentage. He will say, yes, the text is good enough, or no, the text is not good enough. For the others, there are percentages, and they differ a little bit. I would say in general, it's around 60 to 70% of the questions you need to get right, but that can differ a little bit depending on the on how difficult the questions are. Okay, so from year to year, it changes a little. So that were the questions that you asked before, and now I'm going to look into the chat. There might be more things. For example, here we have just a second. Muntlig eller skriftlig viktigst i Norge. Fikk dette spørsmålet I muntlig eksamen. Jeg sa begge, men så jeg måtte velge en. Hvorfor? That's a good question. To be honest, I have no idea why that is so. Yes, it's very, very strange. For Bergenstest's spoken part, are we required to speak using Oslo dialect? No. You can speak your dialect. Of course, not a foreign accent, please, but you can speak Bergen dialect. You can speak Tromsø dialect. How much does the accent affect the score? Not at all. Okay, not at all. If your accent is correct, then it's no problem at all. Can we get these books in bookshops in Norway, or have they bought directly from you? We don't sell the books directly. You can only buy it through bookstores, and in Norway, the best choice is usually Adlibris, adlibris.no. I can put that down at the, but basically, if you click on our website, you're going to be directed to either Adlibris or Book Depository. Okay, yeah, through Amazon, if you want to have it in Norway, it takes a long time. So I suggest Adlibris or Book Depository. Okay, Jon, du norsk, så bra. Are there any other questions that I have not answered? That were the questions on YouTube. Now I'm going to see if there are questions on our own website. Do you have Norwegian writing course? Yes, we do. Basically, this also works through Skype. So what we do in the writing course is you can get exercises corrected by a teacher. You can get texts corrected by a teacher. We suggest that you first take a free demo lesson on Skype as well with one of our teachers. So if you want to do that, just send an email to info@skapago.eu. And we will schedule a time. And during this, a teacher will discuss what you actually need exactly. And we can also, as I said, we can correct texts for you. So you can write example texts, and we can either have a fixed price for each text, if it's like, for example, a BERGENSTESTEN text, or we can just charge you by the time the teacher needs to correct and to comment on the text. Or if you prefer that, you can correct the texts together with your teacher in class during the Skype lessons. We will use a virtual classroom where you can see what the teacher is doing. So, yes, so that's basically another option you have. Okay, are there any other questions? There's, for some strange reason, I'm sorry about the people from YouTube. I cannot scroll up in the chat here. So if your question has not been answered, I will kindly ask you to copy it into the chat once more. I don't know if that is, yeah, some strange thing with my computer here. So again, if there is a question which I have not answered, which you wrote into the chat, or if there's a new question, I'm going to stay here for a few minutes and you can still ask questions. Otherwise, don't forget, we have this special offer right now it's still working till Friday. You will be able to sign up for our Nils Academy, and you will get the price for the first month refunded. So if this is something you consider, then check it out. There's basically no risk because you can cancel your subscription during the first month, you can learn as much as you want, and then cancel within the first 30 days, and you will not pay anything. Okay. Yes. Yeah, okay. Here's one question I think I haven't... No, I think I talked about this with muntlig eller skriftlig er viktigst I Norge. Fikk dette spørsmålet I muntlig eksamen, so I'm sorry about this. I don't know why the examiner said this. I think maybe he just wanted to make you talk more. Okay. James says, if I fail a single part, do I retest in what I failed, or I have to retake the exam all over again? Basically, you have to retake the whole exam. I'm sorry about that. With a few caveats, like if you take BERGENSTESTEN, for example, written and oral, and you pass oral but not written, then you only have to take the written part again. But you have to take all the 5 partial exams. So if you only fail the listening comprehension, you have to take all the other 4 as well. For NORSKPRØVEN does not really... In NORSKPRØVEN, you cannot really fail. Something I'm not sure if I was completely clear about that. In NORSKPRØVEN, you get a result. I will show you here on this overview. If you take, you sign up for NORSKPRØVEN A2 B1, and you're not really good, then they'll say the result is A2. If you're really pretty bad, they will say the result is A1. And if you deliver just a blank file, they will say the result is below A1. Okay, but you will actually always get a result which is below A1, A1, A2, B1, B2. They will never say you did not pass the exam. You will always get a result. Of course, I mean, with an exam result below A1, there's nothing you can really do. It's a very polite way of saying that you don't know any Norwegian. But you will always get a result. And then if you retake it, if you retake the exam, I think for the written part, you can take just a few parts. Let me check that, please. Yes, du kan få forskjellige resultater på hver av delene I prøven. So I explained that. Trenger du nytt? That was somewhere here, but I'm actually not 100% sure if you can just take it again, or if you have to take, oh yes, you can choose if you want to take both the oral and written, or just one. If you want to take the written part for the first time, you need to take all the 3 parts. That means reading, listening, and writing. But if you have taken the written norskprøve on a computer before, so not like the old one that they had several years ago, norskprøve 2, norskprøve 3, which don't exist any longer, but this computer-based one, then you can choose if you just want to take one or several of the partial exams, like just reading or just listening or just writing, or everything. And then you will get a new certificate stating your new level, and that will be the best of all results you had. So for example, you take norskprøven A2 B1, and you actually get A2 on all levels except for listening. There you get A1, let's say. Okay, so you want to take it again. You get a certificate which says reading A2, listening A1, everything else A2. So you take it again, and you only take the listening part again. And this time you fail completely, you get below A1. Then your result will not change. However, if, for example, you get really good in listening and you have B1, they will send you a new document where it says reading A2, listening B1, everything else A2. Okay, does that answer your question? Yeah, thanks for the answer. Okay, you're welcome. Yes, so if there are any more questions about the exam, just type your questions. And you can also check out the resources which are not available on YouTube yet, but I will put them out during the next 20 minutes, so maybe you just check back on this page, or you leave it open, and in 20 minutes you check back on that page. The resources are also on the website of where we're having this webinar, so you can just see them below actually, you have the video, then below you have the chat, and under the chat you have all the resources. Ingrid wants to know, if I need to approve the A2, what do you recommend me take? NORSKPRØVEN A1, A2, or A2 B1? The oral one. That's a good question. I would say, personally, well, it depends a little bit on what your goals are. If you just want to do that so that you get your residence permit and you just need the A2 and that's it, I would take the easier one. Because probably the other candidate you're going to talk to will have to just speak a very simple Norwegian and not speak more difficult Norwegian than you know yourself, so it might be easier. But if you're aiming to just get a better result, I would take the difficult one. Okay, maybe Ingrid, you can put in the in the text what your goal is, what you want to do with why you want to take NORSKPRØVEN in the first place. And then I can answer you. Does the 1-month trial period apply for previous students? No, unfortunately, it's only for new students. So we will have something for previous students too very soon, but unfortunately, this is just for new students this time. Yes, let me see if there are other questions here. I have to hop around between the two chats here, unfortunately. So yes. So maybe Ingrid, you can still comment on what your reason for taking NORSKPRØVEN is, and then I can answer your question, or be a bit more specific with which exam to actually take. Okay, for the citizenship. Okay, then I would really take the easy one. My suggestion is to take the easy one there, because it will be sufficient if you pass it and you don't need anything else, and then you can relax, and at a later time when you have time to learn more Norwegian and you want to prove yourself, challenge yourself, get a good job, whatever, then you can still do an exam that is more difficult. Okay, so yes, I can actually go back to normal camera mode here. I think everybody got this email address, right? So if there's any question, you can just ask them at info@skpago.eu. Otherwise, I'll just come back to the camera mode here. So I'll be staying here for 2-3 minutes, but otherwise, if there are no more questions, I would like to thank you for taking part, for taking so much time. It took quite a long time, or there's so much to say about these exams. It's not the most beautiful topic, unfortunately, but we just need these exams for different reasons, don't we? Although I have to say, we also have students actually who take the exams just to challenge themselves. I do that myself when I learn a new language and I am at a certain level. It can sometimes motivate you just to take an exam, like just for the fun, just to see that you can actually do that. And it also forces you to get all your grammar right to a certain date. And so this is something very useful. You might consider it if you don't need it, you can still do it just for fun. It's possible as well. Yes, of course, good luck in your exam. That's what I wish you all as well. If you're having an exam soon, then I wish you all the best for passing it, and for passing it with a good level, of course. And yeah, if you have any question, there might be a question coming up after the webinar is over. So just send us an email, as I said, on info@skpago.eu. And yeah, otherwise, thanks for taking part. have a nice evening or afternoon, or depending on wherever you are based, for listening to this webinar. And I'll maybe see some of you in the online course. Some of you might be students at SKPRØVEN anyway. And all the others, again, if you have questions, don't hesitate and send us an email. So yeah, I wish you all the best, and we'll see each other soon in another webinar. And yeah, so have a nice evening. Goodbye.